Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint. So if you've used this before, let me know in the comments. It's a fun paint to use, and some people are actually intimidated by using it. So you can see we've got this raw piece of wood here. That's what we're using. And I'll show you the different steps that we want to get sort of a rustic farmhousey kind of background for our stencils that we'll be using today. So the first thing we're going to do is mix up the paint. Mixing, yes, I said mixing. So milk paint comes in a powdered form, this kind of milk paint. And today we're going to be using a stain. We're going to be mixing it as a stain, and then later on I'm going to show you how to mix milk paint as just an ordinary furniture paint. So for the stain, we're going to mix it 3 parts water to 1 part powder. Usually for just normal milk paint, it's so easy. The ratio is just 1 part to 1 part powder to water. But because we're making a stain right now, I'm just going to, and really you can just eyeball this. All you're doing is adding more water than you are paint. So I'm using the colour Curio, which is the brown colour in the Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint range, to create a stain on the timber. And you can use this on any timbers. So I've sort of doubled or tripled the amount of the, there you can see the comments down there, Celia. Thank you. Let me know if you can't hear and we can turn my voice up. But here's the stain. We're just mixing that around right now. You can use a little whisk, which I'm going to find. Give me a second. My whisk ran away. Here we go. Just a wire whisk to mix that together. I'm just using it in a cup, but it comes in powdered form. So milk paint's actually made out of just 5 simple ingredients. It's a lovely VOC-free, eco-friendly, natural kind of product. So the 5 ingredients, let me see if I can remember what it's made up of. The milk part in milk paint is casein, the protein that you find in milk, limestone, chalk, clay, and then there's the pigments. So there we go, it's all mixed up there just as a stain. And so it's going to be quite watery. It's not going to run off the whisk, sorry.
All right.
I've got to remember that you've got to move the camera around a bit. So it's not even coming down, running or making a stream. Whereas if this was mixed up as a paint, you're going to see it's going to be in the form of, say, pouring cream. So you should see a steady stream coming off your whisk or whatever there. But because we've made it really watery, because we want to make a stain, that's what it's doing here now. All right, so I'm just going to use an old brush, and it's obviously water-based because we've just mixed it with water. And all we're going to do is dip our brush in the stain and paint it on the raw timber. And so often with milk paint, I just like to call it a primitive paint because this has been around for hundreds of years in this form of people using milk paint. If you've never heard of milk paint before, let me know in the comments if this is strange to you. Or if you've used it before, let me know too, I'd love to know. So there we go, you can see the grain of the wood. And I've just stained it all around. I'm actually going to do the sides as well. I might even do the back side. It dries really quickly, milk paint does. Super fast. We've got any questions there?
Can you buy the milk paint already liquid?
Not with this brand, it's actually in powdered form. There are some brands of milk paint that actually, I'm not actually sure if it's exactly the same kind of milk paint, if you know what I'm saying. I know that Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint, so here's a question that I often get asked. Once it's mixed up, how long will it last? Because as you know, with milk, if you've got powdered milk that you buy from the grocery store, once you've mixed that up, you have to use it within a week. And so just the same as that, once you've mixed up Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint powder, you have to use it within a week. It's good for a week. You pop it in the fridge and just use it, but it's the kind of paint that you just use as much as you need for a particular project. So you get to sort of know how much you're going to need for a dresser or for signboards, things like that. So if I have this, I've got this leftover stain here from doing this small piece, I can use that and leave it in the fridge. It'll be good for up to a week, but then it will start to have a bit of an odour about it, so because it's a natural product. All right, so there I've done both sides of the board, and yes, it's wet on both sides, but it will dry quite quickly. And once it's wet like this is the dry look. So you get that chalky kind of porous look as you do with chalk furniture paints and things like that. So if you've just joined me, we're making a background for our little boards. These are, I don't know, what would you call these? Paddle boards, but I guess they're like a chopping board, but they're really for decorative use. And I've got a great, thank you for doing that. I've already painted the front of this, so I'm just going to do the back side of my boards that I've already worked on. This is one that I've prepared earlier, so I'll be able to show you the next step on this side here while we're waiting for the others.
Where did you get them from?
Sorry, the boards?
Yep.
You can get them on the Amazon link that I've got there, an affiliate link in our supply list. At that top comment there, if they linked it up to the top, maybe.
Is that typewriter, somebody said?
Oh, no, this one's Curio. So Curio is the brown. There is a colour called typewriter in Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint that is a black. So it's like that old rustic typewriter kind of black, which is, it's almost like a charcoal black, not a true black. So there we go, that's the dry side. I'm just going to do a little bit more on these ones over here. And these ones, what I'm going to do is show you how I then layer it. And we're going to use Miss Mustard Seeds hemp oil and also a beeswax to show you how we can layer two colours. And you don't have to use brown as the undercolour, you can use any of the Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint colours. And you can also use this same technique with other furniture paints, other water-based paints. This technique of using a resist to create a layered look between your two paint colours. And I'll show you how it works. All will be revealed. Stay tuned, guys, because you know that here at Essential Stencils we give away prizes, and at the end of the live, Celia's going to pick a few names for a random stencil that you will be winning. So I've stained my piece. I can put my stain aside now, throw the brush in the water to get it dry, and I've got my trusty wet cloth. Give me the shot so you know what I'm doing.
Yep.
Just going to wipe up the table a little so we can see what we're doing.
So easy to clean.
Okay, so here's our dry board. It's feeling a little bit rough because what happens when you put a water-based paint on a surface, a raw timber surface, it can open up the grain fibres of the surface. So I'm just going to grab a little sanding glove and just smooth that down a little bit. This is a Sandy Hand sanding glove, which you can get in Australia, but not available US. There we go. So we just made a nice smooth surface there. And
run those outside.
Yeah, if you want to pop those outside, they'll dry a little faster for me. That one too. Thank you, Celia.
No problem.
And we can show you then the next step is to add a little bit of either Miss Mustard Seeds hemp oil or the ordinary beeswax, and we can create a resist layer on here. So for this one, I might use the hemp. Actually, I'll show you sort of a half and a half on this board to give you a good example of each and what each can do as a resist. And some people might prefer one way or the other, but let me just grab a little cloth. So I'll need that other board that looks like this as soon as it's dry. Yep, actually, what I'm going to do first is mix up my, I'll show you how I mix up my milk paint first. So we're going to use a white colour, as you saw those other boards that the backs are drying off. I'm going to use Farmhouse White to be our second layer. So remember, what's going to go in between the stain layer and the white layer is the beeswax or the hemp oil to create a bit of a resist. So then when we sand back the white layer, we get peaks of that brown wood showing through to create a rustic farmhousey barn board with a kind of a look. All right, so to mix that up, I'm going to use my jar. Salsa jars are perfect for this. And remember, it's equal parts powder to water for the milk paint. But when you're creating a stain, who can remember, if you were listening to the beginning of the live, what's the ratio for a stain? Pop it in the comments if you think you know. The stain ratio that we used before. So for making a paint, it's equal parts, 1 part powder, 1 part water. How many parts did I use? or did I say to use, for a stain. So we've got 1 part powder. And actually I'm going to make 2 because I'm going to paint a few boards, but this is going to be plenty. I'll have plenty to use afterwards. So 2 parts powder and 2 parts water. So as long as they're equal parts, so if you're doing a dresser, you might want to use a 1/2 cup and then your 1/2 cup of water. So 1/2 cup of powder, 1/2 cup of water. So equal parts ratio. Okay, so I've also got, here's another method that you can use to mix, is a little milk frother. My battery sounds like it's running low on that. You can use a milk frother to mix your milk paint as well, but as long as you don't I'm just mixing it without turning it on for right now, but as long as you don't, I'm just going to sit down because I don't have a pen. As long as you don't do it too much, like lifting up, because you don't want to create air bubbles. So I've turned it on now, and what I'm going to do is just tap it on the bottom to kind of stop it every now and then and give it a good mixing. And you'll notice that this is a little bit thicker than the stain because we're using equal parts powder and water now for the milk paint.
And yes, some people got it right.
So we have, some people have said the right answer, and yes, for mixing a stain, it's 3 parts water, 1 part powder. So you said the right answer, then you're correct. Okay, this can be quite therapeutic, just sitting here mixing the paint.
Is that powdered milk?
Oh, it looks like it, doesn't it? But it's not. It's milk paint. So no, you don't want to drink it. Definitely not. So you might get a few little lumps in there. You can either sift those out or just leave them on and sand it back with the grain. It's just one of those fun paints to work with that feels just like you're back in the olden days, I feel. Primitive kind of paint. I can just imagine them painting picket fences with milk paint. So, I'll show you our consistency there. I'll just turn off this and see how you can see a running stream of, can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's kind of a threaded stream, so it's sort of like pouring cream consistency as opposed to the stain, which just came straight off the mixer. So there's our mixing, and you can just wash that out in water. Now here's the part where I'm going to add either the beeswax. So I'm just going to let this sit. Sometimes it's great to just let your milk paint sit for a couple of minutes just to make sure the water and the powder are just properly emulsified. Is that the right scientific word? I don't know. So they're properly mixed together. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so I've got a bit of hemp oil on my cloth. Do you want to see if that other brown board at least is dry for all of them if they are ready? So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of hemp oil on my cloth, and I'm just going to dab that in certain areas of the board where I want the paint to chip or resist or leave a bit. How's it going? Is it dryish?
3/4.
Alright, I might just do the hemp oil all over all of this one, and then I'll use that one as the beeswax example. Yes, we'll do that. So hemp oil going down, and you don't want to, you want to do this hemp oils on sort of right before you paint the white on. So we're just sort of dabbing bits of hemp oil in areas where we want the paint to stay off it, if that makes sense. Or come off it. And then on the other board, I'm going to use a bit of beeswax and just again dab that in areas where you want it to rub off or rub away when you sand the white paint, so that it comes back down to the raw wood. Maybe we'll do a lot more beeswax up here at the handle. You think of those areas on a piece of furniture, for example, of where it would normally be wearing. So, for example, on the ends, a bit on the sides. This is a fun finish to do to the back of your stencil boards as well. So we've got our beeswax down there. So this one's hemp oil, this one's got beeswax on it. Now we're going to paint using our this mustard seeds milk paint that we've mixed up. And what you want to do, especially with the hemp oil one, you just want to lay it down on there without pushing the paint down too hard, because what we want to happen is we want the hemp oil to act like a resist, and it should be resisting the paint that's going down on it. So get my edges. And it doesn't matter if we hit all of the areas of the wood either, because this is going to be a rustic look, barnwood look, and you could even just sort of leave patches like this, but I kind of wanted to show you where the hemp oil was resisting. So I'm going to give it a good overall coat. And it actually has a very natural odour to it, so there's no chemical smells to the paint or anything like that. It's quite fun to use. Washes off in water, of course. Okay, so the different stencils that we're using today, let me just let you know that the packs that we're using, we've got the Tree Farm mini tag set, and we're going to be using the Deer mini tag set. So those are the two different sets that we're using.
And the size.
And the size is 3.5 by 6 inches. So they're actually going to fit a little bit small on these, but perfect size, I think. So this one has beeswax on it to resist the layer of white paint, and you can actually see that's beading in those areas where the beeswax goes on. So that's what we want. We want it to be beading a little bit.
Can you come up closer to show the bead?
Can you see that there? Just here where it's, and even here where I've tried to put some on, you can see that it's, yeah, here's an area of beeswax there.
Much better.
Yep. I haven't got my Zoom camera today. Got to remember these things. Okay, so just showing you again here. You can see those wet patches where the beeswax is. So we're covering the centre bit. And you might see a little bit of beading right there. Can you see that? All right.
You'll have to talk about it.
I'll have to do the edges as well. So yep, if you've just joined us, we're using this mustard seeds milk paint to create a weathered barnwood look on the background of our stenciled little chopping board thingies. Don't even know what to call them, because they're really, I wouldn't use them for a chopping board. They're quite light. I think they're just decor. They're just made to look pretty. And all the supplies are in the supply list, which we've popped in the comments there, so you can grab that whenever you like, and it's got clickable links on there so you can see all those. So while, Celia, if you just want to pop these out to dry, those sides anyway. And here's some I've prepared earlier. So this is the white side. This is it all dried. Well, trying to be dried. So a great idea, a tip for you. See, my paintbrush is wet. If I'm going to do some more coats of that white paint later. So just use a plastic bag to keep your paintbrush wet so that it doesn't dry out in between coats. I hope you use that tip. So there we go. That's our whites are all finished. Now this is the one that had hemp oil underneath. So remember we had the stain layer, hemp oil, then white, farmhouse white on top. Curio, the stain underneath. Then we put beeswax in patches. You can kind of see the waxiness coming through the paint. So that will show up even better when we sand it, and that's the hemp oil coming through there. Just going to use sanding glove again and show you how we can sand that back now to create that farmhousey look. I need to come up a bit closer. Right, so what's happening is it's going through to that brown stained look rather than the pure blonde wood that it was originally. So hope that makes sense. Creating a lovely weathered look. Then we'll add our stencil And then what we're going to do because it's kind of looking patchy there, what happens when you put a sealer over hemp oil, it doesn't go the chalky look, it goes back to the actual colour of what the paint colour is going to look like. And it does have that weathered, farmhousey kind of style to it, milk paint. Lovely primitive look. So there's our sanding, that was pretty easy. And as you can see, you're seeing that brown stain come through. But if I didn't have that resist layer of the hemp oil in between, it would probably go back to that raw timber look. So you don't want to sand too hard, just enough to be able to get that nice and, I'll try and find a dry bit of cloth. Nice with the wood peeking through. All right, so now we've got the beeswax board. And I'm going to just be sanding off. Oh look, this one's coming off even more, which is great. Thank you. So here's the bits where the beeswax was on the edge here. And you notice where I sand back on those areas, it's coming through nicely. Now that brown stain section, I'm flicking paint on my little stencils here. Should be all right. That brown stain actually looks a bit greyish because we haven't put a sealer over it to make it stand out, but you wait once we get that sealer on at the finish. But we always want to put a sealer on last after we've put our stencils already on. We don't want to put our sealer on before that because you want to seal your stencil in as well. So how are you all going there?
Can you do a quick recap on paint, boards, gloves?
Okay, so the paint is Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint, and it's just an eco-friendly furniture paint made up of 5 ingredients, and we mixed it. It comes in powdered form. You mix equal parts water and paint powder, and you get a lovely rustic finish on your furniture or your decor or whatever you're trying to make. So it does look a little patchy, but remember that once we've finished with the beeswax or the hemp oil as a sealer on top, it'll look great. So now we can get on with our stenciling. We're using the new Christmas stencils. Don't forget to use the code IRESTORESTUFF at Essential Stencils when you at the checkout to get 10% off your order. And so we're going to use, these are from the one set which is called the, this is the Tree Farm mini tag set, and this one is the Deer mini tag set. So we've got the Deer, Merry and Bright, and Believe. So,
Looking
let me
good.
see, Merry and Bright, let's do this one. So for this purpose, I don't think I'll put the little tag hole in there because obviously, you know, that's kind of up there. So with my stenciling, I'll use a little brush. I think I will go with, let's do a couple of colours. So I might do the Merry and Bright in, what shall I do it in? Black. I've got black, red and cranberry to use for my colours. So this could be a little tricky in trying to get that to all be in different colours, but we use painter's tape and it's our friend and we can do all things then. So just try and centre that and tape it a little bit so that we've got it in the right place to start with. And I always tape where it comes close to the edge of this, where the stencil meets the board in a close manner. I'm going to put some tape over that. So
There's a comment about outdoor things needing sealer for the moisture.
yes, you would need sealer for outdoor things, and you'd need an outdoor sealer. You wouldn't just use hemp oil. Oh, you can use hemp oil for outdoors, but it just needs to be redone every couple of years, you know. So if you're doing an outdoor setting or something, it's great for that.
And the vote is cranberry. You didn't even ask.
Cranberry. Yeah. Cranberry for the whole thing. Or should we maybe, I'll make the leaves green. I was thinking of doing black across here. Let's do Merry and Bright in the cranberry colour. I just like these colours because they're a bit more muted and, thank you, I didn't check my openings. All right, so again, I'm using a Klingon round 14 brush, just one of the little rounder brushes. So just doing a little swirly motion. Now you got to tell me which one from this stencil set should I do on this board. Have to have an idea there. So just use a little tiny bit. Remember, if you've not stenciled before, less is more. So you can see that I'm wiping off the, let me sit down, so I can chill. Wiping off as much as I can, the excess, and then doing a little bit. It's because you want to wipe as much off as you can, because you do not want the bleeding through underneath the stencil lines. You can dab if you like. I just find that takes a little bit longer to get it worked into the stencil. All right, I'm going to try and do these little berries, the holly berries. I'm going to try them, do them cranberry while I've got the cranberry on the brush. I think we've got that. But first, what? What are you laughing at?
The votes.
The votes.
Yeah, the
Too
truck,
late.
the tree, the truck, the tree, the deer head. So funny.
All right.
The truck.
We've got some votes. People want the truck. I do like the truck, and I haven't done a Christmas tree truck yet, so
Yep.
I like that idea. All right, I'm going for these little berries right here. Just wiggling my brush around to get the paint down in there. Remember, we want nice clean lines and no bleeding under, so you just use a lot less on your brush. All right, so we've done a little bit of red, and I should probably put that in a wet cloth or something that's wet, so that it doesn't dry out. And while I'm here, we will do a bit of green.
Are you spinning the brush?
I'm swirling it. I would call it swirling, possibly. All right. I'll show you my little trick again if anyone hasn't seen that. If you've got long bristle brushes and you want to create a stencil brush with a round brush, just use a rubber band and you stiffen the bristles, and it's kind of becomes shorter, and it's a lot nicer for stenciling and wiggling around. So I'm going to do the bayberry just on the leaves here. Actually, why don't I just do the bayberry for the grain sack stripes that are here as well? Might as well do that. Okay. Oops. I was about to just go for it when I didn't think about the fact that I haven't masked my berries, and they're likely to be green and red berries. What does green and red make? It's bayberry. The colour, Fusion Mineral Paint. I believe it's on the supply list. If it's not, that's the colour. Fusion Mineral Paint. All right, here we go, doing this little grain sack stripe here. What do you get when you mix red and green together as a colour? I honestly don't even know, so anyone can tell me. That would be interesting to know.
Brown?
Probably so. I can hear Australian birds out there. I don't know if you can hear them, but actually it might not be Australian, it might be just crows. They're out everywhere, right? Is it a crow? Sylvia,
Yep, I was
that?
nodding to the brown. Yeah, that's the crow. Ooh, so what is
Alright.
the purple? Oh.
Oh, red and green makes purple. Red and blue makes purple, I thought. Okay, so I'm just sort of going, I'm not swirling for this one because those grain sack stripes are going long ways. I'm just kind of pouncing and brushing. I don't know if that makes sense. There we go. There's the stenciling there. Let's see if we can take this off and reveal the pretty da-da-da. Oh, there we go. Isn't that gorgeous?
Hey,
I like
cute. Oh my goodness.
Merry and bright. That's so Christmassy, gorgeous. And you can tie this with a little piece of twine or something like that and stick that up on your... Oh, yeah, you can probably, it's so light you could hang it from a giant Christmas tree, I think.
Yes.
But you could hang them around the place. So we haven't sealed that yet, so just remember that. We'll do that in a second. I'll pop that down here.
That is so cute.
And we're going to do our Merry Christmas truck. And this board, we used beeswax around the edges to create that resist layer. Just putting that down the side so we don't get our paint on the board where we don't want it. Probably should put another one over here. Okay. what colours are we doing this? I was going to try black to just kind of make it stand out a bit, but I might do the Merry Christmas in black and then the truck in, say, the green or the red. Guys, red truck, green tree. Can we even do red truck, green tree? Let me try that first.
Ooh.
Are we in shot here? Are we all good?
We're all in.
Okay.
And
Well, I've got green on this brush. I'm going to try and do this tree. So you just have to mask off the bits that you don't need to do right now. Remember, wiping off the excess on your brush. Is there any other questions?
red truck, green tree, and what are the animals?
What animals? Is there animals in the truck?
Me? Don't call me an animal.
I said, is there animals in the truck?
Nope.
Oh.
They're hearing the...
Oh, okay.
Yep. Oh, that's so cute.
I
Oops,
think
get
it's
my
just
fingers
a
out of the camera line. Oops.
Okay, so we've got a tree.
Cute.
All right, unmasking that part. Put that over here.
The video was interrupted. Oh no, and now it's continued. Okay.
Are we still on? Is everybody there?
Still on.
Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit of black here. Just using this one, yes. Thank you.
Yep.
A little bit of a swirly motion there. What's your favourite decor style? I'd love to know. Do you like the farmhouse look? I'm a bit into that, but do you like the boho or the... What else have we got? Name a style. Teach me, educate me. I just love this rustic kind of a look, vintage.
Wonder how you can make these into boho. That would
Yes.
be really fun.
Bright colours. You could even do that resist layer, which I have done that layered look on with two different bright colours, you know. So I've done, see that board over there? Can you grab that one? I've shown how to do this on a video tutorial. If you go to my YouTube channel, this exact board was used on that video. So I showed you how to create that layered look between the blue and the red. So you can see that this was using hemp oil, this was using a bit of a wax puck across just the top lines of the crevices. And this is where, in the center, I didn't use any resist. So you can actually see where it's gone through to the raw blonde color of the wood. So that's why I showed this technique today, to show how you can use the oil or the wax to create a resist layer. So if you want to see that again, you can always go to my YouTube channel or just watch the replay here and I'll give you another demo on these boards. Okay. I'm not using my favourite brush right now, so it makes a difference to my...
I knew you were going to complain about that. Comment on that.
Celia.
Yep. There wasn't any other ones.
It's all right. It's okay. It's working. I'm making it work. It's just not as quick as I could do. All right. So we've done the Christmas. We need to do the truck. So I'll grab my red colour again because we have a bright red truck happening. And I've got to tape it, right? So we'll tape down where the tree was. I think I missed one wincy teeny corner of the tree. Hopefully we've got it all right here. All right.
The only person that will notice is us.
Probably so. All right, so looking good so far. We've taped up where the truck isn't. Don't forget, we've got prize winners somewhere in there in the comments. There are some prize winners, but we haven't picked them yet, so stay till the end and Celia's going to do that job. She's furiously taking notes, I'm sure. And guys, don't forget, Essential Stencil has just launched their Stencil of the Month Club, and I've put that link in the description of the live up there, so you can see that and jump on stencilofthemonthclub.com and use the code IRestoreStuff to get $5 off your first month. That's brilliant. That's a good deal right there. And I'll be in there along with some of the other ambassadors showing you our best stenciling tips, and you get to get a new stencil every month. All the details are on the website, Stencil of the Month Club. Comm. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to getting in on some of those new stencils.
Mm.
What else was I going to tell you about? There we go, red truck looking great.
Somebody's painting as they're watching you.
Oh, awesome, I love that. It's a great idea to have lives just going on in the background as you're doing your work. I often do that. All right, here we go. I think we've got paint on everything now.
Somebody else got a phone call.
Here we go. How's that? Are we in shot?
Yeah, you're in shot.
That's gorgeous. I love that.
So nice.
So what you could do too is just give that a little light sand once it's dried to get a little bit more rustic vibe. But that's turned out really nicely. Did you take our other one outside?
I
Oh, no,
stood
there
it
it
up
is.
so it'd be in shot.
Oh, that's great. Great job. So we've got some red and some green Christmassy stencils on there. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is about the live. So to get your notifications for live videos, don't forget to hit the little bell. There's actually a little bell that you can hit in the top right corner. It is if you're on a desktop. If you're on the phone, I'm not quite sure where that is. But if you hit that bell, it tells you, it invites you to be notified whenever Essential Stencil goes live. So whenever there's a live going on, it will let you know. And the other way you can do that is on the live itself. There's 3 little dots, and you can go to that and turn your notifications to all, and that'll show you when Essential Stencil live is live. So there's a few fun ways, some top tips for you. If you didn't quite get that, I'll pop a comment in later if you ask the question, how do I get notified by lives? Just ask it in the comments and I'll reply to you personally and say, here's how you do it. But also you want to be on their email list because they will let you know via email when we're going live. All right, so all we have to do now is to just seal those pieces so that they are ready for hanging on your wall or whatever. So if you wanted more of a farmhousey look, you could put some twine or something like that on this here and hang it. You could even, I can see a nice red ribbon coming around the neck here. Wish I'd had a little red ribbon on hand. Forgot about that. But yeah, that's a great idea as well, or hang it with red ribbon like this. Okay, here's our beeswax and our hemp oil. So what I'm going to do, this is the one that had hemp oil on it that we did first. So that little cloth that I used, here it is, with the hemp oil. It's already actually got quite a bit of hemp oil on it. If I wanted to, I could get a very, very fine sanding pad and just give that, but it's already sort of got a bit of a rustic look to it. But if your stencil ever turns out too bright for what you want it to do, then just give it a light sand and you'll see it just kind of roughens it up and ages it that little bit more. There we go. Looking merry and bright. All right, so then we just add the hemp oil that we've already put on here. That's Miss Mustard Seeds hemp oil. And I'm just going to go over the entire board now. Maybe I do need a little bit more on the cloth. And you'll see that it'll deepen the tones of the wood and the colour. And it penetrates into the paint because milk paint, similar to chalk paint, it's quite a porous paint. It doesn't have a built-in top coat like the Fusion that I usually use as well. You can brush this on and then wipe off the excess, or you can just use a cloth like I'm doing now since this is just a small project. But if I was doing this on a larger piece of furniture, I would seal it with by using a brush.
Some great ideas coming through about using burlap or hessian or buffalo check ribbons and adding bits of snow around the truck.
Yep.
And what kind of oil is it again?
It's hemp oil. So it's Miss Mustard Seeds hemp oil. It will be on the supply list, so you can look for that there. All right, so now you can see it's deepened that colour, the natural tones of the paint and the wood, and that's kind of sealed that in. Now I'm just looking for, I'll use another cloth over here for the wax, and I'm just going to do some wax on this.
And how long does it take to dry?
The hemp oil or the paint dries really quickly, like within a few, 15 minutes or something. Depends on the weather. Hemp oil, you can let that sit for a day, but remember that it will have, so if you've done a whole table surface, it will still have an oily touch, so a week later you may, and with any product like any sealer, any paint, you have a curing time of 21 to 30 days. So just remember that. So if you go to put some paper down on top of something that you've hemp oiled, about a week later, it could still have some oil residue that's not been totally soaked in and dried. So here I am going over this now with the beeswax, and I do love a good beeswax finish, and I want to show you that, am I in shot here?
Yep.
I want to show you that little bit there. So where that brown curio stain is popping through, it's a little bit darker there where we've done the beeswax sealer than it is over on this edge here. So it really does, once you put the beeswax on as a finish, it really does seal it lovely, nicely. You could also seal it with a wipe-on poly. That's another option. I just thought since I used these products underneath as a resist, we'll just use them as the sealer for this.
And hemp oil actually deepens the acrylic paint as well?
The fusion paint, not so much, because the fusion has a built-in top coat. You actually don't need a sealer on that. So like this is the fusion that we've done the stencil with, only because it's a little less watery than the milk paint, so I like to use it for stenciling because it gives you more sharper? It gives you sharper lines.
And how long have you been stenciling for?
Probably about 8 years, about as long as I've been painting things. And I love to stencil bits and pieces on furniture. Kind of love that industrial kind of farmhousey vibe at the moment. That's what I'm into. So some of my furniture pieces you can see over on my blog at irisstillstuff.com, and have a look over there. So when you've done the wax finish, what you do is you wipe away the excess and then you buff. Buffing is like this kind of a motion. So you buff it to a sheen, and waxing furniture is just really beautiful. I love the finish that wax gives. It just is a lovely,
very soft and smooth. And
yeah, it's just got a really good finish. So what I'm doing now is just buffing that, like you used to buff your shoes in the old days. Does anyone still polish their shoes? Shoe polish is still a thing, guys. Don't go looking scruffy now. Or polishing your boots. Yes, you probably would in the winter over there. I'm sure everyone, boots is like a standard thing. But here we're moving into summer, so no boots for us. I think I wear my boots probably only like once or 1 week out of an entire year. Which is really sad. I do like boots. All right, so there's our beeswax finish. And I don't know if you can see any shine, but it does have a lovely sheen to it. And here's our hemp oil finish here. So those are two mighty fine examples. And the other ones, I was thinking, oh look, these are partly dry already. I don't really remember now which one was which. Hemp oil was probably this one, and this one could be the beeswax. But remember, that's kind of where we started. Now this is quite a rough surface because we haven't sanded back our finish to look like this. I really love the way that beeswax just really resists that area there where we've stained it underneath and gives it a nice wearing area. I hope you guys like that too. Okay, so the other thing I was going to show you too, don't forget that buffalo check stencil over there. Another fun idea for stenciling, and I did show this on one of my lives that I did with the buffalo check and the deer stencil. So is just to pop that down here, you could even do that. Pop that down on here and do a buffalo check background for your stencil before you put one of the little signs on it, which is a really fun idea. So I might be doing some of that with these ones, but I'll pop another photo of our finished Walla. our finished look in the end. I'll just recap, while these are dry here, I'll just recap that while Celia's picking out some names for the winners.
Yeah, the questions again, just are the back of the boards going to be decorated, or are they used for food?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't use them for food. They're quite small, but I mean, you could pop Santa's cookies on there. That's a great idea. But something that's, going to be, it's not going to be something that you're going to use as a cutting board. Don't want to cut into it. It's probably not useful for that. But absolutely, I plan on creating another stencil on the back of here, and then you can have, change it up a bit. And if you're sick of this one hanging on the wall, you can flip it over for the other side. And so you'd have like a two-sided board and use that for all sorts of things. So I'm a big believer in using all the surfaces if you can. So just a little recap on sanding this back. So we've got that layer of resist underneath. So in those areas, especially where you see the oil or the wax, is where you'll see that resist of that next layer of curio, that colour curio coming through in this mustard seeds milk paint. Don't forget to click on the supply list link. If you don't see that in the comments, just comment and let me know you didn't see it, and I'll post the link there again for you afterwards. I'll be going on in a minute to answer any of the other questions that we might have missed, but hopefully we've answered all your questions on this live. So there we go. So we're just kind of sanding back. This one's not sanding back as far as I thought it might.
That was the other question, was about using beeswax to seal wood and how it lasts.
Yes, I love using beeswax for sealing wood. In fact, I've done a few pieces of furniture where I've painted the base of the piece of furniture, and then on the top I've completely sanded or stripped it back to raw timber. And with the raw timber on top, I've used either a clear wax, or Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint range also has an antiquing wax, which gives you a lovely dark finish on your raw timber pieces, which is a really nice idea. They also have a white wax, and so the white wax also gives you like a lime wash kind of look on your finished furniture pieces. So that's just on raw wood pieces, but think of all the other options you've got with your painted pieces. When you start adding antiquing wax, a dark wax or a white wax on those, you can get some really lovely finishes. Ooh, look at that, guys. That's just turning out really nicely on those little chippy bits on the side there. All right, so just recapping that little bit. That's how we sand back to get that resistant layer. And that will all turn out just like this. See, I wanted to show you the difference. So I've sanded that back here, but you can't see that dark chocolatey colour underneath as well as you can when you've sealed it all completely in the end. So the sealer, the wax or the hemp oil, really brings out the pops of wood colour from underneath in the stain. So that is it for today, and we just need to pick our winners, Celia. So bring it on.
Okay.
Some names.
Our winners are Kelly Johnson Wingard,
Kelly. Congratulations.
Candry Hamrick,
Candry.
and Dana Clenny.
Dana Clenny. Congratulations, people. You have won yourself an essential stencil. So we will be contacting you, or you can just send us an email at support@essentialstencil.com. And don't forget to hit the notifications. When you go up to the top of the notifications, there's a little bell. That will help you to know when we're going live next for our next ambassador to go live and show you another awesome essential stencil technique. So if there's any other questions, please drop them in the comments. I am Sharon from irisstorestuff.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, all of the things. I'll catch you next time. Bye.